Hey folks, ET here, coming at you with the week ahead. Just taking a look at a couple of tickers, some things that obviously had bad days last week going into the week. And the first one we're going to take a look at here is CRM. Now, mind you, when you want to look at some of the indicators like calls and puts, customer calls, customer puts, it's going to move you out into a bigger time frame. I've shrunk down to the 15 here so we can kind of see where we bounced. And you can see right around here, this 213.63 is a pretty strong level, and it's got just a little bit of bearish positioning this week, so it could take some time down. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of our indicators here. Let's grab our customer calls, which is going to move our level out a little bit. Those calls are dropping down quite a bit, while puts are also dropping as well, so we could see a little bit of consolidation here on CRM. Just taking a look at our daily SR levels, a drop down to this 209 right here would be pretty ideal for a long. Could go if you just kind of look left a little bit and move your cursor. You can look a little bit and say, okay, there is some room down there to 200. And then about one of the spots that I always like to look for CRM is around 195. Seems to hit there pretty frequently. So if you look at 195, we had a lot of contention there, a lot of price movement around that area. So that could be another area if we're looking for a little bit of short side going into next week. Maybe a 214 if we lose the 209, down a little further to 195 there if the week starts off rough. Week doesn't start off rough. We looked at that chart before. We can see there's definitely room up to 220, 225 if we go back to our 15-minute time frame. And so we'll just take a look there, just kind of eyeing a few things this week to see if we get any bounces on some things that just had a down day. Some things obviously like oil and banks could see some short side, or I'm not saying they will go short side, but there is some potential there. Those things have been going pretty heavy, and so I'm wondering when maybe they might taper off just a little bit, even though Friday did bring quite a few things down. Things like MA held up pretty well, even though we shorted it really well last week. If you do subscribe to our free Discord channel from Trady, you can see my swing plays when I give them out. Don't give out too many too often, but I try to give out one or two a week that I'm eyeing. So anyways, here we do have that room up. I know gamma maybe isn't as important on non-indices as it is the indices. It just seems to pull harder and work harder there. But I do like to see where the gamma level is in comparison to our SR levels. So the biggest pull currently is if you're looking at 225, if that's going to work that way, which would be for a decent bounce. The only problem is with CRM we are looking at a little bit of indecision between calls and puts. Puts are dropping some while calls are dropping some, so it looks like puts could have been just profit taking potentially from the drawdown. Obviously you'd see when they rose up here we started to lose more price, and then we had a little bit as they shrunk some, we saw some increase. And so it's kind of interesting to see when you see those things happen. When you see these rises, sooner or later they build up and they go build, then had a nice gap up day, right? And as they shrunk, price went down with it. So a good thing to see. For now, I might look for CRM short side early in the week unless we rip upwards, and maybe take that down to the 190, 195 a few weeks out. So that is one ticker that I'm looking at, kind of both direction. I'll try to give you a bit of each there so you can see how things are going. So you can see it does get more bullish as the weeks go on here. So if we do have some downside with it next week, then that'd be a good shot if we can get down lower for me to consider longs further out, as long as the customer call and put start to line up. Next we'll check target. Well, it has been going kind of crazy. It's been going down. Its call positioning is going up. It does have a few more weeks of slight bearish customer position. That could change. And if you are checking its gamma, it really looks like the area that it's in, 123, 125, might be a spot that it could hold. We'll go ahead and check SR levels for it. It is below here. If we're checking on the daily, we can get a little further in and check some other ones. So if you look at this 122 here and you look through it a little bit, it is a pretty strong area. So what I'm looking for, I like to play target quite a bit when it hits this area here. I set alerts for when it starts to dip down. So this 122 to 125 isn't necessarily a massive run for you. You're probably going to get 150 to 100 to 150% if you swing that. and you go a little bit longer dated on those as well, like I always do. So what I'm looking for here is I'm going to go ahead and set an alert for when we get closer to that 122.40. And if it holds, I'm going to go ahead and take some 125s a little up. All right, now, as that works, you can see 125 doesn't do so great there. It just seems to kind of bring it back down. It doesn't always make it there, so you don't want to hold forever. But, you know, I don't want to hold forever. I want to take profits as go along, keep my position trimmed as I go. Just trim up till you get the runners going to where I want. So target's another one I'm looking at. Now, if it hits 125 and I'm still looking at this bearish customer positioning, I've gone through and I've checked my calls and puts, and all of a sudden calls are starting to shrink. As right now they're going up, so I'm thinking people are probably loading for that 122.40 bounce for the 125 run. So if I see these start to shrink down a little bit, then maybe I'll go ahead and exit that position and actually go the other direction with it from 127, 125 back down to the 123, 122 area. So that's what I'm looking for target. Hopefully this kind of helps you out. I like to not have a complete bull or bear thesis on every ticker. Instead, what I like to do is I like to check the data from the platform. I like to take a look at what the most likely levels for the week are, and then I just set price alerts for long shorts. It's pretty simple. You can just type your alert into TV or whatever you want to use. I think Webull allows it as well, and you could say, yeah, TGT hit 122.50. Check data, look for longs. Right, simple as that. I try to keep my trading that simple. I don't want to look at a chart all day and wait for something to happen. So I do look at charts all day, but it's mainly SPY for my scalps. For my swings, I want to let those things come organically to me and not watch them and stare at them for patience. So there's target. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Is an interesting one that I found, and who knows if it's going to grab some squeeze potential here. If we're looking at our customer call position, it is dropping down here, okay, on BBY, which is interesting. And looking at our customer put positioning, still dropping down, very, very mixed there, okay. But here's something that I definitely would like to point out is it does have some bullish customer positioning over here going into the next side. And if you are a gamma checker, we'll go ahead and draw our support resistance levels. If you are a gamma checker, 82.5 is a support resistance level. So like I like to point out, I like to check to see if there is gamma that lines out pretty close to an SR level. That's within $2.50. So with this position here, I might actually look to take this long. It has been basing here for quite a while. These little dips down here, you can see it's had some price contention a little bit lower, but that's quite a bit lower since we're on the daily here looking around. You can see that's quite a bit lower than where current price is, right? 72 to 68, but even a 68 downturn would still be within this consolidation range, which has been very, very, very long. And as you can see, it's pretty much stayed between this support and this support. So I'm actually looking, if this holds, for some BBY lotto longs. Just kind of interesting to see there. I kind of like it. I really do. I'm not sure, obviously, and I just want to point out, any play I enter, I automatically, as soon as I do, I set my trail stop at 20%. That means if it loses 20%, I lose, and that means if it starts to go up and it goes up to 40% and then drops back down, I still get my 20% win. And I just set those trails like that because I want my trading to be as emotionless as possible. Hanging on to a position for me is very dangerous. I know myself psychologically that I will perform much better if I do as many robotic things like setting alerts and setting trails as possible. So that is BBY. I want to take a look at Oxy real quick. I actually haven't looked at it yet, but since I have all of you here with me, we can go ahead and take a look. It has another week of bull positioning here. Kind of see customer put positioning, as you can see, was down, and now it's starting to thin a little bit. We did have the drawdown the other day. Let's go ahead and check our call positioning, which is quite a bit up, and as you can see, it has fueled this massive run that energy has had, which has been all across the board. Let's go ahead and grab our levels really quick to see. This is really in between right here, between our 61 and our 73, almost equidistant, just a little bit closer to the lower level. So what I would prefer, to be honest, is if I'm going to short Oxy, I'm going to see if it can't get up to this 73 before I decide to take oil for a short. Let's drill down just a little bit closer into our time frame to see if there's anything a little bit closer. So you can see there is one at 67.22. If you go above there and check the wicks, you're still looking right around 68, not quite the 73. So another area you could check. And I just take these and I really like to look through them as I go and see and just check the chart. See, our 30 doesn't give us anything there. So we'll go back to our 1 day, and I'm going to go ahead and set an alert for, let's say, 67, right, which isn't too far above, and 73. I'll probably set it for 72.50 just so I know it's coming there, and take a look. It's got a couple of bearish weeks coming up after this week. So here's our week right here. That's the close of last week. So that customer position was bullish, and obviously we had a pretty darn good week there. We did not struggle at all until we had a little bit of drawdown on Friday. But everybody had a little bit of a drawdown on Friday for the most part. So Oxy is another one I'm looking at. I wouldn't mind longing it on a bounce for sure, but I don't think I'm ready to do that yet. I don't want to long something that's so overextended and that's been running this much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think maybe this customer position that's been bull for us pulls us up a little bit more, and then maybe enter some long dated shorts. 61.47 would be a pretty nice price target. I always like to go in between, so I would look for 65, 66, whatever strike is around that area. I haven't looked at the strikes exactly to know what is exactly available, but right around there would be the spot that I would be looking for the short for a swing. With things like energy, I like to go at least a month out. Sometimes two takes a little while for them to move. It's not Tesla or Apple, which sometimes moves massively in big days. A little bit more of a slow matriculation up or down. So that's what I'm looking at for the week. Hope this was helpful to everybody. Go ahead and just, I guess, comment if you like something, and I guess comment if you don't, because sometimes you will anyhow. Everybody have a great weekend. I will see you tomorrow. I'll get another couple videos out on Twitter to check to see what charts might be catching my eye besides these. Everybody have a great rest of the weekend. Stay safe out there.